All right, so first time for everything. We are live in the sick war room. All the TVs are off because we're just here recording the podcast. And for the first time, we decided this season that we would do the podcast live. So no swear words. No, we don't really.
Don't worry about you. Don't worry about me, not you. Yeah, you're fine.
We're fine and good. But the good news about this is the idea is that instead of a delay, we get timely answers. We get it. Coaches are speaking now and different things, so we feel like we give you the information earlier. And so, welcome to the 2024 NFL season. No guests on this podcast because there's always too much to talk about. I made a mistake, Taylor. First game's 10 a.m. Pacific time. They're ending at 8 games on in here and the whole thing. And
right.
Like, the biggest injury of the week so far is still Jordan Love. We don't really have anything this morning. It's really pretty quiet. And then sure enough, by the afternoon, we have a full slate of the usual injuries. It wasn't the worst week ever.
No.
But there's dozens of things.
It was bunches, not really significant bunches. Yeah.
There's still a lot to talk about, right? So we'll get to them all, from Jordan Love to Ferguson, Jake Ferguson, to
Puka.
Josh Allen, to Puka Nacua, to Achane, however you say his name.
Devin. Yeah.
Kenneth Walker. A lot of different things to cover. So let's get after it. Glad to be back. And we'll even talk about the game still to come tonight.
The Monday night, yep.
Monday night, Jets at 49ers. All right. You're the organized one, Taylor. Ask away, take it away. Which way we get?
That's saying a lot. All right. So before we do the rundown, I do want to talk about
by the way, I don't know how this works. You guys know me. I'm tech challenged, but whether on YouTube or Twitter Live and wherever you're watching this live, there is some functionality for questions. So hopefully you'll figure it out, or the audience. I don't know how to do it. Taylor will read me the questions.
I see the questions. Yeah, we already have a bunch, so let's just get through our stuff and then we'll get to the questions first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just mark. I think you can scroll back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no worries.
So how about this? Let us get rolling a little bit here, and then if you guys have any other questions, we will be sure to address them all right, and hopefully this catches on as a live feature. And I understand this is live as of 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 1:30 Eastern time, and it's a news cycle, so things can change. And by the way, Craig, Doug, others that are in the room, if we get another coach's press conference and they say something, break in and tell us what they're saying as we're on the podcast here. And this is going to be a mini war room, except we're not watching games on Mondays. All right, let's roll. Where do you want to start? You want to start with Jordan Love? You want to start somewhere else?
Yeah, this will kind of lead into Jordan Love. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about turf conditions, and there's a little bit of slipping. And this all started, I guess, with Saquon Barkley. He had a negative 5-yard gain in his first rush as an Eagle, right, because of the slipping in Brazil. But it's a trend all weekend, I guess.
Well, it wasn't surprising to me that people slipped in Brazil. Nothing against Brazil. I've been to Sao Paulo. I've been to Sao Paulo once for Carnival, believe it or not. But anyways, it's soccer grass. Soccer grass and football grass is not the same. Soccer grass is made for a true roll of the football, the soccer ball, and for 160-pound guys. You saw how chewed up the turf was in ideal conditions when there's 320-pound guys pushing against one another and longer cleats. But that's the slippage. Now, what did surprise me is the Sunday night game, how much slipping there was in Detroit for the Rams and the Lions.
Both sides, yeah.
But let me tell you something. Other than Jordan Love at the end, and I think the turf may have helped him, he got his foot, ankle, leg caught under a defender, and that's how he got hurt. It's not like his cleat stuck. In general, when the field is slippery, there's fewer injuries. So hopefully that accounts for some of it. But anyways, Jordan Love. By video, it was trapped left ankle. When that happens with external rotation, it's a combo knee MCL and high ankle sprain. There hasn't been, I've seen on Twitter people say, well, the team hasn't said anything about his ankle yet. I agree. The team hasn't said anything about his knee yet.
Right.
It's just reporters.
Right.
With sources, right? And do they have the whole? Yes, I get it. There's one report that says the ankle wasn't injured. Does that mean there's no soreness in the ankle? There's no mild ankle sprain? No, that could mean there's no injury that needs bigger attention than we're worried about the knee. The bottom line is that it's in combination. And everyone talked about the pop, and I saw lots of, oh my gosh, an ACL, and his ACL's torn, and his season is over. The good news is we were saying it's significant, but it's not season ending, and he could avoid IR. And I still think he can avoid IR. So what's the difference between an MCL and Jordan Love and an MCL and Jake Ferguson? Well, Jake Ferguson, we'll get to it, has a bone bruise as well.
Right.
Thankfully not an ACL. But first of all, there's different degrees of MCLs, and there's differences in positions. Jake Ferguson, we think, is going to go on injured reserve, miss 4 weeks at least. That's good news. Jordan Love, I still think, may not go on injured reserve. First of all, it's the position he plays. And some of that is obviously mobility. Lead leg brace, help protect the MCL. A lot of quarterbacks do that. And also, if there's even a 5% chance he could play in week 5, because if he goes on injured reserve, you have to miss week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5.
Right.
If there's a 5% chance that he could play in week 5, wouldn't you as a Packers fan say don't use the roster spot, don't need the roster spot? Because remember, you have more flexibility with practice squad call-ups anyways.
Sure.
If you put him on injured reserve, it's 4 games minimum out. So
even if he's ready, he still has to sit for the fourth.
Even if he got ready. So
right.
That would be egg on the face of the Packers.
Correct.
So,
yep.
And the demands at quarterback for mobility are different than the demands at tight end or cornerback or other positions. And here's the good news. I believe the Packers play the Vikings in week 4.
Well, they do.
That's not an unrealistic hope and target, not guaranteed.
And he's got the extra days from this Brazil game as well.
Yes,
I don't know.
a few extra days.
Right,
so,
right.
Do I think he's going to start this week? No, that's asking a lot. Who is a different question. I don't see how it can be Malik Willis. And this is not maligning Malik Willis. But he just got there. I mean, you got to have someone who knows the system, right? I know there's talk of Ryan Tannehill, maybe.
Yeah. They have a practice squad guy, Sean Clifford from Penn State, who was there for preseason, but he's a rookie 2-year player. He's not.
Yeah, but he's got a leg up on Malik Willis.
I would hope so. Yeah, I would think right? So. Yes. So,
I don't know. You'd have to look through the annals of Matt LaFleur, his system, and who he's crossed paths with. I don't know if Ryan Tannehill's one of those. But if a quarterback isn't used to a certain system, the language is completely different. Some are number systems, some are letter systems. It's very hard to get the plays called,
right?
If you're not familiar. So we'll see what happens there. But Jordan Love, good news for the Packers. We think he can avoid injured reserve, but even if he hits injured reserve, he's not much beyond that. So maybe there's some hope for the Vikings week 4. That would be our best guesstimate at this point in time.
Doc, always a question. This always pops in my head when we talk about mobility. Your friend Philip, if he had this kind of Philip Rivers, if he had this kind of issue, would he return sooner, or is this it doesn't matter?
Philip is as tough as it comes,
right.
And thankfully he's given me permission to talk about his injuries. Actually, he's so funny. You guys know I went to Alabama last week,
right?
And he's texting me, "You got to go to Dreamland, the original barbecue."
Mm-hmm.
And he was right. He said, "Full slab, white bread." That's what he's texting me.
Okay.
Dreamland, the original.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Yeah.
Anyways, he also, of course, then can't help but text me, "What about my player here that has this? Does it make sense that he's still all football?" Philip Rivers has played through MCL injuries before and not missed time. Philip Rivers, remember, famously played through an ACL tear 6 days after an E-scope. I'm not saying he's tougher than Jordan Love per se. We all know Philip Rivers has the longest, whatever quarterback starting streak. He's had his share of injuries, including we talked about it. Plantar fasciitis that Justin Herbert played through too. We probably name it. Philip Rivers has had it. That's another reason. I love LT. LT cannot play through an MCL.
Right.
As a matter of fact, that Patriots AFC Championship game, remember, LT had a couple carries and then left the game and was seen with the hoodie or whatever, the on the sideline kind of thing. He had a legitimate injury, the MCL.
Right.
And he could run and move, but he couldn't be LT, and he didn't
no cuts or anything. Yeah,
by coming out of the game. But Phillip Rivers on a torn ACL and a brace kept playing. Is Phillip Rivers tougher? No, there's different demands of the position, and that's what I'm saying with, and Doug's smiling because he's a Packers guy.
We got comments rolling in too, and I have someone saying Rivers would be at practice at Wednesday, so which is it's funny, but like you said, he's tough as nails. That's how it goes, right? So
yeah, and he's also really immobile.
Right. Yes. So the next guy to go into, everybody's asking about is Puka Nacua. Give me your thoughts on him and what happened, and maybe it leads a little bit into the preseason stuff that we were talking about early on in our preseason report.
Well, coach speaking, I love Sean McVay. As a matter of fact, what an absolute brilliant game plan. They knew their offensive line was hampered. Their left tackle went down. There was a shuffle at left guard from the center and then their right tackle. And yet they almost won the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta say hats off to Sean McVay and what they decided and what they did. So definitely believe that he is big time and love the Rams and love Sean McVay. But really, when you get down to it, they knew they had offensive line issues. So it was ball out quick. At one point, Matthew Stafford's average pass yards per attempt was 5.5.
Right.
That's like, I won't say it. I guess I'll say it. It's like Bo Nix territory.
There you go. I knew you were going to say it. I was waiting for it.
No, they're rookies. Okay, it's fine. But my point is that was intentional.
Yep.
And he raised his passing yards out of yak. Mm-hmm. All the balls were near the line of scrimmage.
Correct.
Ball out quick. So brilliance from Sean McVay. So I'm not calling him a liar, but coach speak is a real thing. Coach Speak Index, we had him on
yes.
the podcast. We had guests. Sean McVay in the preseason said, nothing to see here. It's a bursa, Puka Nacua. He's 100%. Well, we said, we hope that's correct, but we have some worry for a mild PCL sprain. Guess what? He left early week one by video what is a fairly innocuous injury. Now, do I think it's a carted off, oh my God, his season is done? No. But I do believe it's the same knee, it's the same issue that he had in the preseason. More than just a bursa. That's all we're saying.
Right.
And obviously Cooper Kupp, look, if you look at a preseason injury preview, we love Cooper Kupp this year. It's only 1 week. We didn't love Puka Nacua, at least the early part of the season. It's only 1 week. We'll see. We'll continue to try and translate coach speak. But Puka Nacua, do I see him being 100% in week 2? No. This is an injury from the preseason. It's been
right.
multiple weeks already and perhaps a re-aggravation. Am I saying he won't play week 2? No, too early to say that. I don't think it's a major re-aggravation. But yeah, I expect him to be limited this week in practice in some way. He's not full go, no issues coming into week 2. This may linger a couple weeks, and this is what we were talking about in the preseason. Once again, we're just going off of video, not insider information, insider knowledge about how this works. And I'm not calling out Sean McVay, who I respect completely. It's just the head coach's job to give some misdirection when it comes to injuries and health.
And we got lucky in that one too, because usually in preseason there's not much video, but we had a pretty clear video of that PCL like injury
potential
for Puka.
PCL more than
yeah.
just a burst. Now, no one's saying surgery and end of season. We're not saying that. But we're saying we're not so sure that this is a nothing burger.
Right.
And it's turned out so far it's not. But we'll see.
Right.
We'll see what Coach McVay says today. West Coast, he's not spoken yet. He may say it has nothing to do with the preseason injury, this, that, the other. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's coach speak. It's okay.
2 of the top tight ends drafted in fantasy drafts were injured this week. Let's start with Jake Ferguson. You mentioned him earlier. Bone bruise and the MCL.
Depends on the extent of the bone bruise. A bone bruise is another word for fracture.
Okay.
Fracture detected on MRI, not X-ray. And the question is how bad. Now, I really do think Jake Ferguson was lucky. I don't think that was far from an ACL.
You were worried for that, yes.
We only had one angle where we said, look, there's no question it's a significant knee injury.
Right.
We know there's an MCL, and it was great to hear early word that it wasn't an ACL. Now, how do they know it wasn't an ACL that early? By exam, Dr. Cooper in Dallas knows what he's doing, and somehow media got that information. They didn't get they hadn't flown home yet, and there was word that the ACL is okay. How do you know that? Exam. What have I been telling you all? Doctors know the ACL's torn or not off the field in exam. It's a media thing that said we're waiting for the MRI before we confirm it. The doctors know. And no ACL is great news. The bone bruise is picked up on MRI. How bad the bone bruise and how bad the MCL will depend on how long. I think he's going to hit IR short term.
Okay. Does the bone bruise mean longer? If it was just an isolated MCL, would
typical bone bruise, 4 to 6 weeks. Typical higher grade MCL, 4 to 6 weeks. That's kind of the territory that you're in.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the Cowboys schedule, but I'm hopeful that Jordan Love does not hit injury reserve. I'm fully expecting Jake Ferguson to hit injury reserve, but also return mid to early-ish this season. And at this point, Jake Ferguson fans and fantasy owners and Cowboys fans, as long as he's coming back, I think you're happy.
Right. Another one is David Njoku. We did get a good video of his high ankle sprain. He left the stadium in a walking boot. Your thoughts on his week 2 availability going forward?
Walking boot leaving the stadium, don't care.
Okay. You care, but not care. I get what you're saying.
Thank you.
Yes.
I say that in fun because my little 7-year-old will say something to her. This is her new phrase. Okay. We'll say, hey, honey, you got school tomorrow. You got to sleep in your own bed. And her favorite thing now is, don't care. You got a little one too. So that's why I'm playing on that. Say, don't care. No, I do care. But what I mean by that is it was absolutely routine as a head team position in the NFL to say, look, put a boot on this. I don't care if you feel fine or not. Let's reduce swelling. Let's wrap it. Let's put a boot on it. And I said that tomorrow morning, if you feel like the boot is a hindrance and your ankle feels fine after you've iced it and after you've elevated and after you use the boot today, after the game, and you walk in with no limp, carrying the boot in your hand, I won't be mad at you. But you need to wear it now. Okay. But if you're limping coming in tomorrow, I better see you wearing the boot the next day. So it's the next day. And I'll give you an example. We had 3 quarterbacks that were rookies that started. Caleb Williams won, but I would argue none of the 3 rookie quarterbacks looked that good. That's like a boot. Here's my analogy. A boot leaving the game is like saying this rookie quarterback played well in the preseason. Don't care. You only care if he didn't play well in the preseason.
You're the Belichick, don't care. He's 10 for 20. Yeah.
My point is, okay, maybe call me a rookie here. It's actually respect for the game.
Right.
The game is not that easy where even the most talented rookies like Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are going to struggle some. They don't come in as Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. That's all I'm saying. It's not denigrating the rookies. It's saying ultimate respect for how hard this game is.
Right.
So getting back to it, boot after the game, shrug. Boot this week becomes a bigger deal. We think it's a mild high ankle sprain for Njoku. Mm-hmm. Not ruled out for week 2 yet. But I'm not saying playing for sure, but not ruled out yet for week 2. We don't see this as an IR deal. Part of it is the way that he wasn't planted, the way he rolled up on. And also, did you see the score of the game? If there was any question mark in Njoku, aren't the Browns going to say, look, let's not make this worse. Let's try and win week 2 or week 3 and not make this worse. This game was out of hand.
Right. I have a comment that said they're saying week to week of Ferguson. He said he thinks it's BS. I'm saying we're kind of calling that and saying that's true. We think his week to week status is it should be IR. It's already, I don't want you to say it's BS, but it seems like the week to week isn't really accurate. Yeah.
I don't blame Jake Ferguson, the team, or reporters for trying to be optimistic.
Right.
In general, it's not always true. Day to day often means week to week. Week to week often means month to month. And month to month often means season.
Right.
you want to be optimistic. You want to give the shortest timeline possible. Week to week is a reasonable designation for Jake Ferguson. But if you're telling me he's playing next week, book it impossible.
Okay.
Give me under 0.5 yards for Jake Ferguson next week.
There you go.
And whether he starts or not, pay me on it, okay? Not playing.
I'm giving you like minus like 1,000. I'm not going to do that for you.
No.
Yeah.
My point is,
Yeah, I got you. It's unlikely.
If Jake Ferguson avoids injured reserve, Cowboy fans should get up and cheer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that he is.
One that people were asking about that did come up about maybe half an hour ago. Roma Dunes, he had 1 catch for 11 yards, 4 targets. We need to get more video. He is going for an MRI today for his knee. They did actually ask from one of our lists, Keenan Allen, that we were worried about with his heel. He said, I'm not worried about any wide receiver except Roma Dunes. So that's what's going on right now. Obviously, for us, we need to get you more video on the play, but that's something worrisome that people are asking about.
We try to follow all the games. There's 8 games on in the room. We have spotters for each game. Not mad at any spotter that didn't see it, but nothing popped on him.
Yes.
Keenan Allen, we saw the play after he left. Assumption is aggravation of the same heel injury, but not a lot there either.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we don't try and make it up. If we don't know, we don't know. Right now, we don't have enough information.
Caught this early in the day this morning. Yeah, we need to gather more.
But go, here's the advertisement. Go to sicscore.com. We'll have the insights up and whatever. And do me a favor, guys. I try to get the Twitter questions. Impossible to get them.
As much as you can, you get there.
Very hit and miss. I try. Do yourself a favor. Go to sicscore.com. Look for it. If you don't see it immediately, go up in the upper right-hand corner. There's a little search icon. Type in the player's name. If it's not up there, I would love you to
let us know.
Let us know
Yes.
and tweet us at SixScore or Pro Football Doc to try and address it. Hard to get to it all.
Big one, running back, Kenneth Walker. He had an abdominal issue late in the game. He did have some past hernia issues, 2002, and so people are asking if that would be associated or something with the injury. We don't have much on a play, but he did say he's fine. But what are your thoughts on him going forward?
Well, I'm not going to say don't care. Do care.
Right.
I'm going to say don't know.
Right.
Okay. No video of the abdominal injury left late in the game. Is it low abdominal, rectus femoris into the area of the symphysis pubis, which is the core muscle,
all right, Doc.
sports hernia area, groin area? Yes, it could be. And if that's the case, it could be related to his previous hernia. We said, it was a year or 2 years ago, I forget when it popped up, that he's going to have surgery and for his core muscle, and he ultimately did. We really hope it's not related to that. It could be. Now, he's saying no big deal, he's fine. It could be related.
Right.
I'm not saying it is.
Okay.
But abdominal and core muscle and hernia could be related.
All right, and last one of our big list that we had is Taron Johnson, all-pro nickel cornerback. Your thoughts when you get a forearm and you get ruled out, is there a little bit something going on there?
Well, we got to thank Kyle Trimble, Banged Up Bills. He does a great job.
For years, he's helped us. Yes, absolutely.
As a spotter in Buffalo. He's a physical therapist. He has a site. Love Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. He sends us DMs and stuff. And Kyle, I'm sorry I don't always respond. There's just too much going on. But we do love what you do and how you help us. He gave us some good video. We saw it. He's worried more about muscle strength. Maybe, but I'm not sure. It wouldn't shock me that it ends up being a friendly fire, even hairline fracture.
Okay.
We don't know enough information, just the one video where he's making a tackle. He's worried about muscle injury, Kyle. Maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to contradict him. I think he does a great job. I can't say that enough. But the brace, the other things, there's a little more worry there, especially with a quick turnaround Thursday game.
Right, yeah. Josh Allen, speaking of friendly fire from your own elbow, Doc, Kyle also gave us some good tips on Josh Allen and his hand, finger, wrist issue. Do you have any issues with that going forward?
By video, it was the ultimate friendly fire.
Right.
It was his own right elbow that hurt his left hand. Here's the good news. He finished the game. Here's the good news. It's his left hand, non-dominant. Here's the bad news. It was late in the game, so what effects did we really see? We've been pretty quiet about reports of x-rays being negative or anything. Usually they're upfront about that if it's negative.
Right.
And the athletic trainers put a big ol' wrap on that left wrist, more than you might put on just for swelling. So short turnaround. Do I see Josh Allen missing this Thursday? No, because it's his offhand.
Practice at all, do you think? Maybe a Monday miss? Or
Oh, is anyone really going to practice?
That's true. Walk
It's a
through.
Thursday game.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Little walk
Just
through.
saying,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and they're the road team.
Right.
So, very short week. Wednesday they get on a plane. That's a walkthrough. Today there may be a walkthrough and an install.
You only get one really big on Tuesday, really. Yeah.
I'd be surprised they put on pads.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so in any case.
Yep.
Remains to be seen. Josh Allen's as tough as they come. Even if there's a fracture, we don't think it's an unstable fracture. Could there be a hairline? Could there be an avulsion chip? There's some concern, but less because it's Josh Allen left hand, but some concern at this point in time. We're waiting more information.
I guess maybe the first injury of the entire season was Kyle Van Noy on Thursday, going all the way back. Your thoughts on his orbital fracture and if he can play week 2 and what would stop him?
Very unusual orbital fracture. Helmets were invented to prevent skull fractures.
Mm-hmm.
And orbital fracture is a skull fracture. Shows you what a violent game this is. Helmets were not invented for concussions, although we are hoping that certain helmets can lessen the effects of concussions, and we could talk about guardian caps and stuff too. But Daniel Bellinger,
yes, the Giants tight end. Yep.
Issue, somehow someone's hand or fist went through the opening. I'm not sure what happened with Kyle Van Noy. Unusual. What would stop him from playing? Danger for further injury, which probably can be prevented, assuming the helmet can fit right and protect him, shield and whatever. Vision, making it worse, or vision issue. Don't see this as long-term, even though it's an orbital fracture. There's a vision issue. There's temporary swelling. You could miss a little bit of time. If there's a long-term vision issue or surgery, you can miss more. But don't see this as season-ending because of the helmet. Now, if this were a boxer, he's out for 6 months,
right?
Or longer. But because of the helmet and protection, even though it sounds bad with an orbital/skull fracture, you could return potentially sooner than people think.
All right. I want to go to the next section. We've gone through all the comments. Everybody's asked about all the big names. We've gone through all of them. So I just want you to talk about a little bit. We've created a little tool on the side, a little fantasy calculator. It did had a couple hits and misses this week. Josh Allen was one of them. Your thoughts on how we've what we've put into the calculator and what it will be used for?
Well, it's a team effort. And basically all we are doing is we're taking standard fantasy projections, friends at Fantasy Pro, established and run, you name it, putting up the FanDuel or DraftKings points or cost, salary.
The dollars, yep.
The dollars. Looking at the health of, let's say, a running back, factoring in the health of his offensive line, factoring in the health of the defensive line they're playing against in the front seven and the linebackers, and coming up with expectations.
Right.
And even you guys are breaking down to points per 1,000. Josh Allen led quarterbacks based on that formula, using our field view numbers into Josh Allen for week 1, based on projections from FanDuel, salary, and or Fantasy Pros or established and run points.
On top of our algorithm spits out.
On top of the algorithm of the health of the Bills' offensive line against the Cardinals' defense. We're expecting scheme to get taken care of by Fantasy Pros and established and run. But health of his offensive line and health of the defense against him and the corners against him, secondary against him, Josh Allen was shown to have a 20 or 30% bump.
He had a 25 to 30% bump, yeah.
based on our injury analysis, and he had a pretty good week.
He ended up being tied with Shaquan Barkley for the most fantasy points for the week. Yeah, two other players that shot out from when we were doing the calculator is Kenneth Walker. Before his injury, he had 100 rushing and a touchdown. And then also Chris Godwin had 83 and a touchdown. Just to be for clarity, we had our number one tight end, Dalton Kincaid. He had one catch for 11. So there's.
Well, that was one that by injuries and health, he was supposed to pop, but he didn't.
Yes.
But that's scheme and usage.
Right.
Dawson Knox. We're not about scheme and usage. We're believing fantasy pros and establish the run, scheme and usage.
They're tying it in,
And then modifying it based off of injury of the opponent and injuries on the same team as well as the individual player's health. So it's far from perfect. Look, Dalton Kincaid, by health analysis, was supposed to pop, but by scheme did not at all.
Right.
So, so there's ups and downs to it. But, ultimately, I see this as a tool. I get asked all the time, should I play so-and-so? Someone asked me, I was at my son's baseball game before that. Dad asked me, should I play Jamar Chase? I'm like, depends on who else you have. I would imagine if you have Jamar Chase, you have to play him.
He's a top pick for you.
If you can afford to sit Jamar Chase in a game that he's playing,
you have a lot of good backups.
You have a lot of good backups. But I need to trade with you. Like you probably need to play Jamar Chase, but you can't make that in a vacuum. Now, where it's important is, let's say you've got two wide receivers that aren't Jamar Chase that are middling. Then you might want to know about the health of the DBs on the opposing team and the health of your offensive line and the health of your quarterback of each wide receiver, right? And that's what this calculator will do. I don't know when we're going to release it fully. We're working out all the little kinks, and hopefully we'll have it released soon. But you can do it manually now by going to Field Views and looking at it.
Yeah, we're just getting the information off that. Yeah. Just a quick before we go through some early line thoughts. Just go to SICScore.com. We have 6 picks always. Our college football went 7-2 this week, which is good. Always medical analysis for doing all sports as well, right? Go on.
We almost did make it. Thanks to Steve Fezzik, BetUS, Jared, the other guys.
Good friends, yes.
They talked us up a lot on BetUS, the podcast, and our pick of the game of the week was Jacksonville over Miami.
Plus 3.5.
Yes. 3.5. Now, I get it. Now, this is what one of the dads at baseball said, what's your best of the week? I said, Jacksonville. He said, oh, I like Miami. And I said, well, look, I think that they're getting 3.5, and that half makes me really like them.
That's
they
what
were just 3.
Yeah.
I like them, but that half makes me really like them. Jacksonville's a healthier side, the whole deal. Look, we had to eke it out. I get it.
The half came into play. Yeah.
But if you watch the game, Jacksonville's up, 14?
Yep.
With Etienne going into the punch-out, fumble, and the next play, 80-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill, and the game
14-point swing immediately. Yeah, absolutely.
Within 30 seconds.
Right.
So, look, the ball's not round. We'll take it. I think the analysis was still sound. That was our play of the week.
I think our second biggest play also needed a little help was the Lions versus the Rams. The Rams had those O-line issues, and we did need a little extra help on that one, but that ended out.
I would argue that was the
right side as well. Yeah,
but, they were up by 14, and then hats off to Sean McVay and Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp.
Yep, had the game plan for that. Yeah,
that's where all we do is just injury analysis. It's not, we can't predict what coaches are going to do.
So real quick, right before we go to the next week, we have the Monday Night Football game tonight, Jets versus Hunters. So go on.
Thanks to people who signed up. I mean, I haven't reviewed everything, but I'm told we've got record numbers right now in terms of sick pick people and signing up and doing well. And thanks to Billy Walters for the shout out and the endorsement.
Stopping by and talking with us. Yeah.
Last week on the podcast, but also, giving us crediting us for helping him win some money over time. So, anyways, I'm sure that all has to do with the bump in sick pick sales. And look, here's what I would tell everyone: if you have the time and you want to do the research yourself, get sick data. Right. It's cheaper. You can see it all, but you got to put some elbow grease to it. We don't hide anything. If you want it easy and spoon-fed, use the baseball coaches, the dad baseball coaches. Sorry. He didn't listen.
He's still.
He didn't listen. He called me back and said, you were right about the half point. I'm like, yeah, but you watched the game. It was actually further out than that.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I didn't watch the game because I was watching your son play baseball. So yeah, but I was watching the game. So
that's good. That's good.
Well, he was watching his son. Too,
yes.
but,
yeah. All right. So the Monday night game's got a pretty big discrepancy. It's Jets have a SIG score of 92.3 and the Niners have an 83.2. One of our bigger differentials. Your thoughts on what the Niners are dealing with on defense specifically?
Well, I mean, this is first of all, we're not worried about Aaron Rodgers and his Achilles. Last year, going into the season, we said Aaron Rodgers, he's 38, he's going to be fine, but it's the health of the Jets O-line. The Jets O-line didn't hold up, and he got hurt. They're fortified this year. Aaron Rodgers we're not worried about.
Breece Hall, second year off the ACL.
Hall is someone on our fantasy calculator pops.
Yes.
Higher than expectations. And why does he pop? Healthy O-line, some defensive issues. Hufanga now doubtful / out, run stopping safety.
Trey Greenlaw
still out from the Achilles as expected. So there's some issues there. And let's not forget San Francisco on the other side of the ball. Congratulations to Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. The game of football is not that easy.
Jamar Chase. It's hard.
Jamar Chase didn't practice until the end.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Ayuk didn't practice until the end. CeeDee Lamb did all right.
Yep.
He didn't practice till kind of the end. Trent Williams, okay, I'm going to, internally, what did we say? I said, Trent Williams' deal will be done on Monday, Labor Day.
Yep.
Because they want him to have a full week of practice. We were wrong. It got essentially got on a plane Monday or Tuesday morning. It was essentially done on Tuesday, but by Tuesday afternoon it was done. And because the Monday game has a full week of practice, you need at least a full week of practice. But I don't know that he's full game shape yet. There's no substitute for football and football drills. I get it. Trent Williams wouldn't have played in the preseason, but there's still a lot of practices going up, opponents, et cetera, that gets you into football shape. So not sure that he's fully there yet.
And we're not really worried about McCaffrey and his calf Achilles, but he also didn't practice for majority of the August as well. But your thoughts are he should be okay, even though they add the Achilles to it?
McCaffrey got a bad rap in Carolina being injury prone. I don't think he is. He played through the calf last year in a very short period of time. I don't see it as a huge hindrance, although it's something to watch, right? I mean, you don't like early season muscle injuries.
Right.
But I fully expect him to play and get a lot of touches.
And remember, you had the Rodgers calf before, and then he tore his Achilles, right? So people always are worried about the previous calf.
And I get it. In the Bay Area, and you have Kevin Durant from the Golden State Warriors.
They're always worried about that. Yep.
Achilles. Let me tell you why Aaron Rodgers' Achilles popped. Leonard Floyd.
Right.
No, I get it. Leonard Floyd is against him this year.
Yeah.
And I heard a snippet of the Alex Smith, Aaron Rodgers interview.
Mm-hmm.
And about the injury, and Aaron Rodgers said exactly what he said. He goes, he knew something wasn't right, but he was mad and he got up, and you know how you hope you shake it off and think it's going to get right, and he stood up and he went, yeah, this isn't right. This isn't going to work, and he sat back down.
Right?
He knew it wasn't right immediately.
And you said they normally know immediately if there's something going on.
He's so pissed, he just stood up and then hoped that I can shake this off. Yeah, it hurts, but it's weak, but he stood up and went, take a step here.
Right.
And he went back down.
Yeah.
And so Aaron Rodgers, look, it was real that he was close to returning last season. He's fine now.
So this whole Jets team, like you said, they're all pretty healthy, and this is one of our bigger differentials at 6score.com. So
it's the biggest differential week one now. It's the only one left.
Correct. Yes. So get on it now.
See what happens.
All right. So some early line thoughts. So you got the Buffalo Bills going into Miami to play Thursday Night Football in the short week. Your thoughts on that game?
Look, I'm not a tout. I'm not a picker. But when you do all the numbers, when we said Miami had its injury issues going into the game. Jalen Ramsey, his hamstring. Brian Thomas shadowed him. The rookie had an okay game.
Right.
Normally you expect Jalen Ramsey to shut a rookie down to nothing. He tailed him, and the rookie got a few catches.
Yep, and a touchdown, yes.
A touchdown, and et cetera. But the bottom line is, he's not 100%. Jalen Phillips got a sack, but sort of fell into
cover sack, yeah.
Miami still has issues, but Buffalo does too. We just talked about some of them.
Yep.
And
Teron Johnson's going to be a big one, yeah.
I'm
So
not worried about Mostert.
A-Chain's, it's got to, yeah, we're still trying to figure out much, yeah.
But I am worried about Buffalo not having Matt Milano.
Yes.
He's a sideline to sideline guy that could stop that. It's a short week.
Arizona looked like they operated their offense pretty easily against that Buffalo Bills team. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll let it all sort out. Look at the field view, check back at 6 score. But early on, I'd say, based on the injury stuff, there might be a lean to the Dolphins.
Next one we had, obviously, the biggest, one of the bigger injuries was the Jordan Love. Colts versus Packers, they might have issues scoring a lot of points in that game, I'd say, from our numbers.
Well, I think this is the time for us to go to Beast of the Week.
Yep.
Beast of the Week. Why Beast of the Week?
From this game, or the game before.
Anthony Richardson.
Right.
The kid played well.
Yep.
Completed some bombs. You could say lucky to say, but he completed them. He ran a lot. And he also got blasted several times, including once where it's like, oh my God, hit to the helmet. And
you've mentioned that all preseason you're worried about his long-term health.
4 games last year, he took 2 huge hits, one
right.
that knocked him out for the season.
And one was a concussion before, too. So, yeah.
He took a head check-worthy penalty flag, helmet hit.
Week 1.
Blowing up. Beast of the Week. He stayed in the game. I'm not even sure he got checked, but that's a whole other story. So kudos to Anthony Richardson.
He's built different than Daniels. Do you think that even matters? Like he's built like almost like a Cam Newton type. Daniels a little slimmer, but do you think they're still same odds of getting? They're still running open space with nobody there, right?
Let's put it this way. I've told the story before. It's great that Anthony Richardson is bigger, but is he bigger than the linebackers hitting him?
Probably not. Yeah.
And even if a corner or safety is smaller, they're a projectile. And he's the target. So it helps that he's bigger, but he's not bigger than everybody.
Right.
Not only that, but he's the target. He's the hit-E, not the hit-er. I'm still worried about that kid. Not in a bad way, wishing him ill will. I'm just saying the way that he plays, he puts himself at more risk. We talked about there's no such thing as injury prone in my mind most of the time, but there is such a thing as prone to injury. Knock on wood, when I go skiing now with the kids, unless I'm falling, getting on and off the ski lift, I'm not likely to tear my ACL. I'm not going down any black diamonds anymore. But as my kids get better and older,
they're going to try.
They're going to be more injury prone on
right.
the ski slope, or I should say prone to injury, because of the risks they're going to take as teenagers skiing. I'm not going to be prone to injury because I'm not going to.
You're being safe. Yes.
Those runs
right.
So there's a difference. That's what I'm talking about. Not impugning him for being injury prone. It's just his style of play is more prone to injury and hits.
All right, Doc, I think we've wrapped it up. We've gone through a rundown. Just make sure everybody goes back and checks. We've gone through a lot of players, including Ndunze. They have big questions on him, Kenneth Walker, etc.
And I think that I like the chat feature where you can read out questions, and hopefully you guys like this live format. We'll continue it unless we feel like, we could do more editing if it weren't live.
Yep.
More insertion of graphics and other things.
We're not in a studio, like you said. We're in the war room, all the computers and TVs around, so we're doing that. Yeah, I guess. Yes.
We're here. All right. So give us this is what you say. Give us a subscribe.
5 stars, like, and everything. Yes.
And whatever the cool kids say.
We're going to be on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. So make sure you're following on all those as well.
And we're staying on time. We're at 11:30. 11:30. I got Mike Fisher doing his podcast.
There you go. Busy man. Yes.
All right. On to the next Spotify.
Oh, and all these going to go on Spotify and Apple as well. Yes.
Spotify, Apple, Believe Network.
Thank you, Doug.
Nothing changes except we're giving you a live look live.
Yes.
And a chance to ask questions. But, I understand most of you have jobs, so you can't really make it's 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific time.
If not, like you said, go to sixscore.com. All the information analysis is there. So.
All right, guys. All right. Happy season. I think tonight's the NFL's killing it. That Thursday game, unbelievable. The Friday game
was a good game.
Good games yesterday. The Sunday night game, unbelievable. This Monday night game, I think is going to be exciting. I think it's going to be great.
They worked it out.
Love it. All right. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, everybody.